So, a big subject and a big problem for many when we were in the Jehovah's Witness religion slash cult was the constant Armageddon fear mongering. And what do I mean by that? Excuse me, it's just whether it was in their magazines or publications, meeting material, or talks at assembly, conventions, that was a constant theme. It was Armageddon and God destroying the wicked, ridding the earth of Satan's systems, the commercial system, religious system, the political system. So, like, they drill that into your head over and over and over about like Armageddon, God's war. And so, not only were they talking it, but there were also like a lot of lots and lots of artwork depicting like the actual destruction of Armageddon happening, and the sky is just raining fire and brimstone. Like, think of how that must have made like kids feel. Uh, Talking to a lot of adults now who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, like, it messed with a lot of our heads. Just that constant fear of Armageddon, and not only just thinking about like that day, and which they always depicted as happening very, very soon. But you also have to think about not living through it. Am I doing everything that God wants me to do? And no matter if you're a child or an adult, that's just something that was always on your mind being in that cult. It's a doomsday cult. And, just thinking over and over about it and just talking with others, like that was part of their control. That's part of their mind control to keep you indoctrinated so that you're afraid. You're afraid to go like outside of the lines that they draw because they're constantly preaching to you that if you do any little thing, you wouldn't be pleasing to God. Therefore, you would be destroyed. You wouldn't have everlasting life, and that's like no way to live. It's like living in fear sucks, and like just doing my own studying and meditating, which they asked us to do. It's not just skim over the Bible, but meditate on it, read about it, think about it, do your research. And I just always felt like if God is a God of love, like he cannot be as strict as they paint him out to be. And I had Jesus when he was on earth. You have his example and his words on what he felt and how he thought, how he treated people. Numerous times he told people to just have faith. Have faith and you'll be healed. And it's like he didn't give those people all these like different parameters or things to do or stuff to work on. He simply said, have faith. And like a perfect example how it messes you up, like um, our son, when he was 5, when I met he and his mom, he was 5. And, she studied, became a witness. And at the time I was disfellowship, but she studied and became a witness. But our son, he was like morbidly terrified at the thought of Armageddon. And for different reasons, he worried, would he be good enough for God? He worried, what if we messed up his family, what we messed up, and we wouldn't be in paradise. He worried about his father. You know, he would say, Mitch, my father isn't a believer. So like, is he just gonna die? I don't want my father to die. And it's like to hear a kid 5, 6, 7, 8 years of age, like that's what they're worried about. That's what he's losing sleep about. That's what he's having nightmares about. And it was rough, you know, and that's the reality. One of the realities of the fear mongering and the holding Armageddon and not being uh, God, not being pleased with you. Like that's the narrative they always push, and it's no way to live. It's hard living that way. And take it from me, you know, like I was in that religion over 50 years, and that's just a reality. Like you live in fear, you always worry, you know, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? And now the older I got, the closer I got to being Pimo. And like during my time as being Pimo, you know, and I'm just going there. I'm just going through the motions, but up here I've checked out. Like it didn't bother me that much anymore. Like I didn't care. Like I said earlier, I just do not think that God is that cold hearted. You know, just looking at the way that he dealt with the Israelites and like other things like that, I just do not think that he's that rigid and that cold hearted. Like like I said, that is just talking to a lot of people on my different social media accounts, you know, that are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or PMO or studies even. That is one of the largest, uh, I would say that's one of the largest talking points that bother people is that thought of Armageddon and like the end coming. And they've used it, the governing body and that organization, they've used it over the years for decades. You know, they started in the late 1800s, fear mongering, saying that 1914 would be the end, and they kept moving it, you know, 1975, and like here we are in 2025. So, yeah, I think they have always used it as fear mongering and also just to keep that mind control up, which, you know, speaking about all this is just another red flag about that organization slash cult. So if you are studying or someone has approached you to study, I'm not going to tell you don't do it. All I will say is weigh all your options. This subject that I've talked about today is a huge, huge topic with the Jehovah's Witness organization. Like it's something that they believe in. So, you know, if you're thinking about getting in, just think about what I've said in this video. Thank you for watching.